Well, welcome, beloved friends. Today is Tuesday, May 26th, 2020, and it's time for our 12-12 Awareness Moments with Kyra. Welcome, Julie Fields. Glad you're here with us today. Welcome, E. Lopez Lockhart. See you there. And all those that will be joining us as well. I'm so grateful for each one of you. Dave March, thanks for being here. It is truly a blessing to be alive at this particular time on the planet. Hello, Mark Joyous. Glad you're with us as well. And at this time, what is it to really be in the place of being in the presence and awareness of our own divine highest self, by whatever name you want to give that, the knowing within us that we can be very aware and present and really know who's in charge here. You know, there's a question that's who's in charge anyway with all this stuff going on? Isn't it a bit crazy out there? And so we have this opportunity to recognize that when we choose and claim and live into the highest expression of our true self, our highest self, we give power to that infinite side of us to be that which is allowing and moving things naturally in the flow of the universe within us. Good morning, Domingo. Welcome, or good afternoon, Domingo, DePara, and Diane Royal. So great to have you here. So when we begin to acknowledge that, I don't have control over anything out here, but I do have control over everything within here. That consciousness actually overrides all of life and creates the life that I perceive and that I experience. Now, doesn't mean that things won't happen out here and that are separate from what and how I am, but who and what I am is just held sacred in my knowing of truth within myself. This morning, on a particular a class that we do an online Zoom thing, you know how that goes, is that our youth director, I'll get my words out, my youth director was talking about the kids that were talking about, we can play together with our friends, but we have to be in our own little bubble. And so they create their little bubble and play in their own bubble. And they're saying, one of the kids said to her that, these adults, they're supposed to be in their bubble, but they have a hard time because they don't adapt to change well. We just have to be patient with them. I love kids will be those that teach us and lead us. Who are we to let go and allow ourselves to be guided in the moment, to be in the bubble of our divine self? Welcome, Deb Reich-Schwalm. Glad you joined us. And in that divine awareness, then I choose in every moment, how do I respond? How do I stand up and say, you know what, I am the only one in charge of what I experience, of what I feel, of what I know, of what I choose to project onto the world out here, the illusion that is out here. Do I project that it's broken, that all the negative stuff, or do I hold a space of seeing and holding the higher truth for one and all, because I hold that for myself, because I hold the fact that I am a divine awareness. We were working with Paul Selig's material on the Book of Freedom this morning. And what is it to claim and know our freedom? I was thinking a lot about people like Nelson Mandela and Gandhi and others, that Viktor Frankl, that were imprisoned by the world idea. But they found their inner freedom. They knew the truth of who and what they are. And when we know the truth of who and what we are, then we begin to be that is free inside of our own bubble, inside of our awareness. And so as I know that freedom for myself, I can look at another and claim that for him. I know who you are as well. I know the truth of you. Whether you're knowing it for yourself or acting on it is not my business. My business is how do I choose to perceive and experience the world from where I am. And what does that create inside of me? If I'm looking at things and I'm calling them right or wrong or good or bad, or that they need to be different, and I start getting myself riled up, I create that inner angst, anxiety, and stress, and a feeling of resistance to what is, and a projection of anger, which usually is just, as we were talking about this morning, a representation of fear. So if instead I'm willing to just be where I am, claim my own knowing and truth, and stay in my own lane, in my side of the road, in my experience of what's true for me, I feel as if one of the reasons this whole bubble experience is happening, possibly, it's just one of the ideas that's possible there, is that we're getting the opportunity to get clear with ourselves as to who am I being? How am I being? What is my energy field? We are so bombarded with one another's energies all the time in the world. And if instead I begin to really stay in my own bubble, as the kids called it, is that all of a sudden then what occurs is I no longer am having to say, oh, it's because of this, and this. Well, I can, and we certainly can do that with all the world activities, but I get to experience what am I creating inside of my own self, in my own bubble of awareness. Am I creating harmony and peace and love? If I say I want that in the world, I want others to accept one another, not be in resistance or pushing against, but to be in a place of holding a higher vibrational frequency and loving energy for each other, that begins inside of me. This is the place where I can determine what kind of experience do I have? So as we are separate from each other, we're getting to notice that if I'm really just with me, what am I creating? What experience am I having? Welcome to Jen Nelson and Susan Witt and Allison LaMarche Fox and Gail Kendall McFadden and Amber Lonsdale. Glad to have you all join us. So as we're talking about being in our bubble, and if you didn't hear that part of the kids' story, it's great to go back and listen to, that in understanding that I am in charge of this experience within me, and therefore what I'm projecting out onto others. But if I am not clear for myself and about what I'm choosing to experience moment by moment, by being in alignment with my higher self, with my divine awareness of that infinite side of my nature, I'm defining myself by the finite world, then I feel battered within my own bubble. I have allowed in things that determine who I am being or how I'm showing up in the world. And so it is important for us to start to notice, am I willing to claim what's true in my inner space? Stay in the presence of that with myself. You know, I was saying to our group earlier on our Zoom that, you know, I know that my path is, I'm an absolutist. And people go, what? You're one of the more flexible people, you know. But I am an absolutist about truth and about holding and aligning to truth in my consciousness. And that I get to notice where I'm out of alignment. Because if I'm not in that place of peace and harmony and projecting that and seeing that we'd say, see the Christ in one another, see the divine awareness in all situations. So I have had to become an absolutist about what's my mind doing? What's my heart doing? Is it really aligning to the absolute truth in this moment? Or has it squandered my energy off in some direction that is not serving me or the greater whole? If that's my act of service and my way of being in this world and the gift I have to give, then I'm here to continue to call it back to a higher awareness. So each one of us have the opportunity to say, who am I willing to be in the midst of each moment, in each experience? What's inside of me that then I'm sending out vibrationally into the world? When we master that, when we no longer are faltering, I was saying that it's like a top that's spinning, and you know how sometimes at first they've got a big wobble going, right? And if instead we can come back and then get closer to the center and really stay aligned, then all of a sudden our vibration becomes pure and we begin to see the world anew. We see ourselves anew. We feel at home in our bubble. We feel aligned with a higher possibility than we can see when we're being battered by everything in the world and letting it determine what is true within us. Let us be the one that's in charge of our own being, our own bubble. And then as a result, we get to create a different world. Welcome Sandy Rash and Cynthia Burrell. And it is a powerful thing to stay in that truth and call ourselves back again and again and again. And I'm grateful for each of you because I know you're calling yourself into that. And I honor wherever you may be, if you're feeling battered by the world, just begin to notice and feel what it would be to stay in a place within yourself that knows that you don't know a lot at one level. You don't know what the world's going to do next, but you can know who you are and how you're going to be no matter what the world does. That's where the power exists within you. So I wish you great blessings to hold that truth within yourself, that you feel the power of that within you, and you transform not only your bubble of life, but the world as a result. God bless you, friends. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.